Alright, welcome y'all. So, I'm Sajbean, and I'll be presenting Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal New Game Plus No QE, the third game in the series, and the most competitive category in the game. So, to quickly explain three things, New Game Plus means that we have a file made in challenge mode. It has all the weapons and items that we could possibly need. QE is a PS3 exclusive glitch. It can be done in Ratchet and Clank Going Commando and Deadlocked as well, but they have different uses in those games. The implied usage here is that you will put story-related items in the vendor, purchase them, and it'll allow you to skip half the planets in the game. So we won't be doing that. It's a much longer run. And now, this game is really fast and chaotic, so I'm going to quickly explain two of the things that make and break the run. The charge boots are an item that gives Ratchet a instant blast of speed, and when the charge ends, whether manually or on its own, you can convert the speed into other moves, which you'll see a lot throughout the run. And the other item that defines the run is the suck cannon. This is a gun that sucks up enemies and boxes and then spits them out. If you keep a box in midair by canceling the suck animation, swapping to another weapon, pulling out the wrench, and you re-equip the gun, you can be launched across very far distances. So, joining me on commentary, I have the world record holder of this game, and his name is...
Scotto Bozo. I hold 5 out of the 6 records in this game. I used to have all 6. Maybe I'll have all 6 again later. We'll find out.
And he's also
really right now we're focused on Sajbean's run.
Yeah. So, shoutouts to him for doing the commentary. So this game has changed a lot within the past years, so when picking out a commentator, I wanted somebody that truly understood what was about to happen, and Scotto was a perfect pick. So timing's gonna start in 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing you'll see is with the suck cannon. It's a trick called the boxy, and it'll look something like this. Get on the box. So, Scotto will explain free fall skip.
Now he's going to set up a trick called free fall skip with the suck cannon. He's going to just barely charge off of the ranger ship, cancel it immediately with the suck cannon, swap to the whip, do a whip jump to skip over the free fall trigger, and this makes Ratchet fall down much faster. Now he's going to start setting up to kill some enemies with the shot cannon. These enemies are important to set up Quark Warp, a PS3 exclusive glitch which only works on German and Spanish languages.
Yeah, so for this run...
So now that we're at the end of Velden, we're going to head on over to Florana, and something weird's going to happen there.
Yeah, we're going to skip
Florana doesn't seem to really exist anymore, if you really think about it.
Here we go. I hope I wasn't too slow on the setup, because I was struggling a little bit. Okay, I got it. Nice. So yeah, as Scotto said, that's Quark Warp. It skips to the end of Florana. And speaking of the ending, it's a little marathon staple where we explained that in the Ratchet and Clank games, especially like the first 4, as well as some of the Spyro the Dragon games, the end of the level, or at least certain sections of a level, are placed near the beginning, and you'll actually see that utilized on the next planet, Marcadia. Right here is the hub world, the Starship Phoenix, and in speedrunning, if there's a hub world, chances are it can probably be exploited. You won't see an exploit yet, but you will see it on our very next visit here. So right now I'm just doing some really fun movement with the charge boots to unlock the next planet you'll see, Marcadia, which it's going to look very awesome if it goes right, and for that, Scotto will explain why it's going to look so awesome.
Yeah, so Marcadia is split up into 3 different sections. You have the main section, which we're going to be skipping for the most part. We're just going to be jumping straight to the end. There's the Ranger missions, which ideally we'll never see ever again for the rest of time, unless you run 100%. And there's the Laser Defense Facility, which is like the very last part of the level, which normally you have to complete all the ranger missions to get to. But it has a very important item on it called the Refractor. And it's an item that you pick up in the overworld, similar to how you would pick up any of the titanium bolts or other items sprinkled throughout the game. And we can abuse that, because if we get the camera close enough to it that it loads in, and Ratchet is directly underneath it, then we can just warp up to the laser defense facility using the refractor. And of course, in order to get to it, we need some serious movement power, which is where this box eat comes in. So Sag is doing a very specific setup here to maximize the height and distance Ratchet gets. And hopefully we'll get it the second try.
It's not over till we say it's over. So the setup is not as precise as my concentrated face may make it seem, but I still want to obviously get it quickly because for one, I would be the first person, I think, to pull this trick off in a marathon. And well, actually, yeah, that is the main reason I'm excited to pull this off. It's also one of the biggest time saves found in the category. That's fine, that's fine. I avoided hyper striking there because I was scared of breaking the boxes. Something else that's a little funny about these boxies is that if you break other boxes within the level, it can change the shape and rotation of whatever boxy it is you're trying to do. So that's really strange quirk. And it affects this boxy the most. On other planets, you could probably just find a different box and achieve the same setup. But on this one, we only have a few specific ones that we want to use. So, and now right here, I have a very specific physical setup that I'm looking for. Okay, this time it should work. All right.
Very nice. Now we have to aim at the building, try and get a bounce off of it. Perfect. And then we spam glide to maximize height, and that's the refractor up warp.
So right there, a little funny thing is the cue I was looking for, I was using the shot cannon's light and where it lined up in conjunction with the pause menu. So now this is a ELDF. It's basically a kind of puzzle segment where you use the aforementioned refractor, but we're going to skip it with this boxy right here. First try.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we had a bit of a fluke on Marcadia, on the first part of Marcadia, but that's perfectly fine. I'm just glad to say that I pulled this off in a marathon.
Yeah. And so this is like 3.5 minute long Marcadia. When you do all the ranger missions perfectly, it's like 5.5 minutes. So that still saved 2 minutes over playing normally.
And in any percent categories where you start from a fresh file, that can save like even more time. I'm not sure about the exact time save due to XP routing. So as I mentioned earlier, the hub world, the Starship Phoenix, has an exploit we're going to use. So there's a few training arenas. One of them is where Ratchet fights some test dummies, which is this arena. But another one is one that you're not supposed to see until later, where he's supposed to test out a grappling hook gadget called the Hyper Shot. These arenas are always loaded in no matter where on the Phoenix you are, and that is the training course for the Hyper Shot. And so with that, we have skipped the first set of challenges on a level called Annihilation Nation, as well as the planets Aquatos and Dax.
Tyrannosis.
Oh, yeah, Tyrannosis, sorry. I was thinking of
We still go to Dax, don't worry.
Yeah, and
we have not found Dax skip just yet for no QE.
Although I wouldn't mind, although I don't really mind Dax, because as you're going to see right now, it's a pretty neat level. So it's going to have a few boxies due to having multiple objectives, but there's also something unique about the level that Scotto will explain, which is how the warship works.
Yeah, so for the longest time, we always thought that we had to go get the cutscene where Ratchet sees the Courtney Gears music video. And then we had to kill the warship. And we thought we had to do that to unlock the Barbecue Boulevard mission on Annihilation Nation. But recently we just realized you don't actually have to go watch the music video. So we have adjusted our setup here slightly to go straight to the boss arena instead of going to the cutscene.
We still have to kill this boss though. If you don't kill it, then the second set of missions doesn't unlock and you would have to come back and destroy this ship. So we're gonna do another boxy to go unlock the other level, Obani Gemini. And now something to note is that if you break any health crates in this level, this boxy doesn't work properly. So in cases where the warship is facing the other way, I have to be really careful to maneuver his position to where you saw me facing. Oh!
Oh, that was so close. Just a little too far left.
That was interesting.
Luckily, we respawn right next to it, and it's pretty quick to retry.
This
But in the
boxy-
meantime, I'll explain how we killed the boss,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
we haven't explained that yet. That was called shock cannon weaving. So the shock cannon has the ability to charge up a more powerful attack, and that stays on the screen for like about a second and a half, which is long enough for us to get up to 3 hits on just about any enemy. Of course, we saw Sag hit about 2 hits per weave. Getting 3 is pretty difficult on a boss with such a large hitbox, because you have to move it off the hitbox and then back on every time you want to get an extra tick of damage.
And in any percent categories, it's even more difficult to get optimal weaves due to the disparity between how much damage you deal and the enemy health, assuming that was a decent explanation. So,
Yeah, in the any percent warship, it takes 8 hits. In the NG plus no QE warship, it takes 6 hits.
So right here is Obani Gemini. This first half is kind of just a quick few seconds to take a breather after the chaos you've been witnessing. Now on Pollux, which is what the second moon is called, you either continue to take a breather or you go for a risky pack swap. I don't do that yet. I've tried it before, varying consistency levels. So at the end of this, somebody calls Ratchet and says like, hey, we need you to come help us, we're being attacked. And we go to Blackwater City, which you may remember from the first Ratchet and Clank game. And this is home of one of the biggest skips found in the last year, called level smashing. So I'll explain the basics of it. Actually, no, I'll have Scotto explain it because I want to make sure I don't mess it up here.
Yeah, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start an autosave and then buy the Rhino. And the Rhino unlocks a trophy, PS3 trophy. And so because we started an autosave, the autosave will finish and we can buffer a load sequence. So we can load a file while we're traveling to another planet. And then by precisely hitting complete on the load, we just spawn in mission 3 for some reason. Because it thinks we have all of the completed flags from our Obani Gemini file. But it's still loading the level for Blackwater City.
You will see this a few more times in the run, and if you watch a high-level run of all titanium bolts, you'll see a variation of this strat called level stacking, where instead of stacking the level flags, we stack assets on top of each other. The difference between these two is simply when you press the circle button. So, pretty easy, pretty nice skip that we found for pretty much all categories, even if, especially if you're not playing some of these at the highest level. In a category like the short NG+, you don't do this optimally, but if you still want something fast and you can't do the fastest strats, it's right there for you. So here's Annihilation Nation. This is where you're going to see the full potential of the charge boots. Very difficult level, but very impressive when it's pulled off correctly. So.
Yeah, at the top level we do a trick that we call Tar Ninja, which we see Sag doing right here. Just 2 whip jumps over an area where you're not supposed to be able to even stand. And then we do another turret proxy up here, falling neutral double jump, and then a little bit more nice movement to reach the end from out of bounds, and then die to skip the long ending sequence where nothing really happens. And we'll do a little more shock cannon weaving on Scorpio.
Alright, so the boss was a little bit slow, but otherwise I am very happy with that Annihilation Nation.
Yeah, that was some very solid movement through Barbecue Boulevard.
So the next level is Holostar Studios. Now this was the deciding factor in Spanish and German, because even though they can both do Quark Warp, Spanish is 0.1 seconds faster for this unskippable dialogue at the start. So me being a native Spanish speaker, that's a W for me. Now, you'll remember that this has a section where you kind of film a movie. That's what the level is supposed to represent. We're actually going to perform a level smash to skip all of it and skip to the section where you would play as Ratchet.
Yeah, so what we do is we first save a new file on Hollowstar Studios. We load back to our previous autosave that was on Annihilation Nation. And then we're going to do another level smash, but this time it's going to be between the Phoenix. So we're going to fly to the Phoenix, and then we're going to load that Hollowstar file that we just set up.
Right.
And we're going to do this using the trophy from acquiring the Snowman skin.
Okay, cool. So that one is the most nerve-wracking of them all because you have to go up 6 inputs. If you go up too much, you will go to Florana, and if you go too little, you'll go to a different planet. And there's also the fact that you know, because you have to do all these extra inputs, you have less time overall to just kind of like basically take in everything that you're trying to do. So, as you saw, Ratchet had a weird version of the Snowman skin. That's a result of the level smash. And here is Hollow Star. So, the Ratchet section is actually pretty simple. It's one proxy and then a little bit of movement to bypass a very short invisible wall. Oh, this proxy can be a bit
This proxy is
difficult.
a little tight, though. You don't really have much space to get the charge boots to full speed. So it's very common to just not get enough height.
Okay, and... Okay, cool.
And we're over the invisible wall.
So as you saw, I went to lock strafe mode, and I was also being really careful about my weapons. This is mostly to set up the movement on Obani Draco. So there's 4 ways you can do Draco in this category. Go through it casually, which is pretty slow. There's a turret clip you can do, which I don't really think anybody likes. The fastest method is to do some frame-perfect charges in midair, and then we have a very nice middle ground that we call Joaf Draco. So, what I'm gonna do here, first of all, this first part doesn't work on PS2. I actually tried it out of curiosity. The collision is just different for some reason. So I abuse this gravity boot rail, and I go on this tiny bit of land. In lock strafe mode, whip jumps are much harder to do. I believe they're frame perfect, so I have to swap back to third person. Now I'm kind of out of bounds. If I clip too far in, I'll go back into the level, which I don't want to do. And then I just charge the rest of the way into the tube. So it is a little bit difficult to do, but it's pretty viable for most, if not, well, it's viable for pretty much any level. Even if you're new to the game, it's worth learning. Because it is the best strat if you don't want to do mid-air charges. So this is the Courtney Gears fight. More of that shot cannon weaving Scotto explained. I was kind of thinking of any percent just now.
That's okay. We're also going to pull out the PDA. This lets us buy ammo on the spot, which is useful because shot cannon ammo tends to run out in the end game. And it also skips the dialogue after you finish Courtney Gears.
So, this is something I just decided I'm going to do. I'm actually going to do a slower strat on this level Zeldrin start port because I did mention earlier the camera, I think I mentioned earlier the camera is a bit messed up. This is a strat, this is a type of movement tech you won't see in no QE, but you might see in other categories like any percent, and you might even see it in Ratchet 1 and 2 speed runs. So I flipped backwards and I got the camera really close to Ratchet and it allows him to clip through. So the camera is a physical object, and we use that to our advantage. So, oh, had a bit of a bad angle there, so I'm just going to slowly glide. No shame in that. Now you can explain how the level is loaded in, and camera stuff if you want.
Yeah, so again, similar to Marcadia, the other segments of this level, the Leviathan ship, is hidden out of bounds. This time it's under the rest of the level. And so we can just fall into a cutscene, and after we die, the rest of the level loads in like it should.
So, next up, there's the little mini game known as a Quark vid comic. It's a 2D side scroller featuring Captain Quark. and there's 5 of them. The way the game's programmed, you have to do them all in order. And we actually skipped the collection of one of these vid comics, but with a frame perfect trick, which despite it being frame perfect, it's actually really easy. It's frame perfect in the sense you press 2 buttons on the same frame. We just managed to skip it. So now it's Metropolis time. So Metropolis is a decently fun level casually, and in the speed run, it's pretty funky. So I'll take over the explanation for this one, since I actually do a strat that even Scotto doesn't do in his run. So first,
Yeah, I would ask why are the charge boots green, but I don't think we're going to be using them at all.
You'll see them for like a second or two. Oh, I forgot there's a triangle input that doesn't register because of a help desk message if your file has the map-o-matic, which mine does. So... Alright. Also gotta be careful not to get hit by a ship or that, so I guess we will be seeing the charge boots. So I'm gonna do a little bit of backup movement. That's fine.
Might as well continue with the old strats from here.
It's only been a few months since I've started implementing the boxy, but you can tell that I'm a bit rusty at this. I don't even have the plasma whip out, so...
Yeah, so here we're going to come up on the Clunk fight, and we're not really going to do shock cannon weaving. For some reason on Clunk, the shock cannon just can do multiple hits even if you don't weave it at all. So that's the Clunk fight.
So now, the one instance of charge boots that I originally intended. So this boxy right here is one that's actually not in the world record. I believe I learned this off of a Tor Bullen. So this boxy is basically a replacement for the old backtrack. Oops, I messed it up. That's fine. I still want to show it off because, like I said, I go for almost every boxy in the run, and it's a trick that just really changed the game. It's a bit of a controversial trick, but I personally love what it did for the game. There's a few negative sides to it, sure, but overall, in my opinion, and I think Scotto would agree with me, it's for the better that we have these in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
It also made categories...
It skips the Marcadia missions.
Yep.
There's a trick at the end of the run called Epic, which we luckily never had to do because a box eat is faster and more consistent.
It also made categories like any percent and all titanium bolts accessible to a lot more runners, because previously the VR skip that you saw earlier, in some categories it was done with charge boot movement, which was really difficult, but it was doable even if you were new. I remember it was a major barrier for me. But in any percent, we had to do some infinite jumps, which are really tight on the timing. I just realized I have my splits open. They're not showing on the marathon's layout, but I guess I split at an incorrect time. So Crash Site, I'll leave this one to Scotto.
Yep, Crash Site is one of the most iconic levels in the run. It's been unchanged for many years now. It's just whip jump to this portion of the level, take the elevator up, do some movement to the end, and then we're just going to go straight back the way we came.
Yeah, I accidentally pressed square there. I meant to press triangle. It's alright, it happens. Pull out the turrets, and as Scotto said, go to the end and come back. This is where we get an item called the Master Plan. If you watch a run of New Game Plus, we purchased this item on Marcadia using the aforementioned quit exploit, and everything between Marcadia and the next level Quark's hideout is skipped. Now this is where I get my vengeance for an older marathon run I did. So in November of 2023, I actually ran this category with the much older, practically ancient at this point, route. So in Ratchet 1 and 2, when you pick a planet, you have to press either the D-pad or L1 and R1, and then you select your planet. From this game onwards, the game automatically selects it for you. Now in Ratchet Deadlocked and Tools of Destruction, the linear style of the games, they don't really have many like branching choices for which level you can choose to do, so it's not really an issue in those games. In this game, it'll like always try and highlight a specific planet, and all this sequence breaking we've done has kind of messed with the menu. There's a level called Iridia that gives us a gadget called the Warp Pad. You probably don't even remember it because it's used twice, and we skip it completely. For the rest of the run, the game's gonna want us to go to Iridia, and we're gonna have to keep remembering to do some menuing to say no. Now, the reason I say I'm getting my vengeance is because in that marathon run, after Crash Site, I went to Iridia. I had been grinding the regular NG Plus category where that stuff isn't really an issue, so I completely forgot I was supposed to worry about that. So my commentator at the time, Yo Andy, and we just had a quick laugh about it. Shout out Yo Andy. Oh, and that was
Huge
Quark's
shout outs to
hideout.
Yo Andy.
That was Quark's hideout, by the way. It's essentially the same as a Crash Site. So, Phoenix Rescue. Um, this
Yeah,
one,
not sure what movement you go for here, but whatever it is, it's gonna look cool if you do it right.
yeah. So the only thing to really note about Phoenix that you might, because Phoenix is just more movement that you've seen before, is this is not actually the same level as the Starship Phoenix. A lot of collision has changed. If you were to try and clip out of bounds into some areas that are currently locked off, the collision is just not there. So, there we go. I hit a camera clip to skip the usage of that horizontal elevator. And as Scotto said, the movement that I do is going to look pretty sick. And on to Koros.
And now we're heading to Koros, another level which has a box heat. So we're going to see Sajbean just suck up a box right at the beginning, try to get it into the right shape, stand on it, jump, and then go flying straight to the end of the level.
This planet's been a bit of my enemy recently, especially in any percent, so let's see if we can make amends for the purpose of a marathon. So, suck up this middle box. On some files, they actually use a different box, but as we mentioned before, breaking boxes, even if it's on a previous challenge mode playthrough, will affect the rotations in future playthroughs. So that's one instance where my file differs. And now Command Center with the final level smash, which I'll let Scotto explain.
Yeah, so we've already used up 2 of our best trophies for level smashing. We used the Rhino, which is in the vendor. We used the Snowman skin, which is just a little bit of menuing. So now we have to fly back to Metropolis to find another trophy, which is going to be from the Blimp skill point. The 2002 was a good year skill point.
Just to make sure.
So shoot the Blimp, hit load in the menu, fly to Command Center. The load menu pops up as we're flying to Command Center.
You'll see.
And now when we do the level smash, it's going to see the completed level flags from Metropolis, and it's going to spawn the Ranger ship so that we can just fly straight to the launch site.
I think I'm the only person that does this in no QE, but you may see this in some lower level run or mid level runs of NG Plus and any percent. So this is a little faster than doing charge boot movement, but it's slower than the Boxy, which is the only one in the run I have not been able to get a full confidence with. So now this is the final fight, Dr. Nefarious, where Scouto's going to explain how I make him think I'm dead.
Yeah, so whenever Nefarious thinks you're dead, he just stops attacking and starts laughing at you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a precise setup with the Nano Pack, which is designed to save you when you die. And so we have it set up so that when he hits us, we have 0 HP for at least 1 frame. So now he's just sitting there laughing, and we can kill him.
I actually had
with
this
our 30 health.
I actually set this up unintentionally in an old run a few years back, and when we started researching this strat last year, that run was used for the research. You can also see a similar variation in the Ratchet 3 tasks. Also, timing's going to end upon the 16th shot on this Bio-Obliterator. 12, 13, 14. Oh wait, no, this is the final shot. Here we go. 1 second gold.
Very nice.
Yeah, so considering the fluke with ELDF, I'm not upset about this runtime. 2707 RTA. We do remove a second if we get a certain type of load screen, the one where the ship goes from the left to the right and does a little roll. So this is a sub 27 time most likely, unless I got really unlucky. The final thing to explain there, I was using the sniper rifle. You can kind of make it fire a little faster if you use the wrench. If you rapidly swap between like circle and square in a weird pattern. I'm not going to go in depth on it, but yeah. That is Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal New Game Plus No QE. Very fantastic speed game. I've always kind of swapped around with which Ratchet and Clank game is my favorite because I run the first four, and as of right now I would say it's this one. Just the variety and different planets. Sometimes you might have a boxy, sometimes you might have charge boots, or rarely a level smash. And then the different categories. It's a hard game, but it's really satisfying to pull off. What do you think, Scotto?
I think this was a solid run for a marathon, although I do have a little bad news. I don't think it's the first ELDF in a marathon if you count the relay race.
Oh.
Because Torbulin and I ran Ouya in the relay race.
That's true. Well, it's the first commentated run, so it's got to count for something. 2020.
Yeah, it definitely counts for something. Because marathon runs with ELDF have been few and far between, for sure.
Especially in when this was first discovered, there was actually a frame-perfect aspect to it, which made everyone just not touch it. Save for a few people who just pushed as far as they could, such as Scotto and DDD. We've made it easier. We've made it more accessible. The game's faster. It's harder and easier. It's a weird thing, but the future's looking good for this game. 2026, we'll see if I get either this or deadlocked into GDQ, and then I'll get to say first live ELDF. So with that being said, any last words, Scotto?
Shoutouts to all of the Ouya runners. Every single one of them. This game's awesome, and you should become an Ouya runner.
I agree. And shoutouts to Scotto for doing the commentary on my run. And with that, take care.